Do you like mysteries? Do you like the things that go bump in the night? Do you want to hear about historical figures like Shakespeare, Amelia Earhart, and maybe Pigman themselves? You need to check out Death by Monsters, a podcast, and you definitely don't want to check what's tapping on your window. Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for March. You know, I know I sound cheery. I mean, normally I would probably be a bit down in the mouth, but that depends on who you're speaking to. Sometimes I feel a bit, lucky. Sometimes I feel a bit unlucky. Today I feel not only lucky, I feel a bit lucky-ducky. But that's beside the point, because we're going to have a conversation today, and if you're going to be talking about lucky ducks, you maybe want to speak to somebody who knows everything there is to know about lucky duck games. I want somebody who knows everything from A to Z. So taking that in mind, I have got with me the one and only Drummond from Lucky Duck Games. Hello.
Hello there. It was just as pun rich as I imagined. I'm so happy to be here. I was trying to hold my composure together the whole time. Don't laugh and ruin the intro. Richard will get mad at you, man.
It's not, it's fine. I'm not going to get mad, because all I'll do is I'll just mute you. Because I've got the power.
That's because you have all the power, right? I have to be very careful that I don't say anything that a simple mute might twist,
Or anything, maybe talking about other companies that we can maybe bring in kind of later on that have maybe been double-side recording. You never know,
You promised we weren't recording that bit, all right?
Blackmail is a dirty word, but it's also very lucrative.
So you wanted to get someone on who knew everything about Lucky Ducks, so you brought the guy on who's been with the company for just 2 months. So
there we go.
Not to put me on the spot, but this is going to be fun.
All I'm just going to say is there's no pressure on my side at all. Is that, there's a lot of pressure on your side. So all I'm saying is, you better step up.
I'm composing myself. I am.
Have you got the Wikipedia page open?
I do indeed, and I've got my card on my desk, which I got for joining the company, that says "You're ducking awesome," which I got as a congratulations card for getting my new position. So that's going to carry me through, I think. As
long as you don't get one that says "Good duck for your next job," then birds of a feather and all that, don't let you drive you. Not going to drive you quackers just yet, maybe a little bit later, but this is not a sponsored podcast, by the way. There's not going to be a bill at the end of it. I'd just like to say that.
Oh, bill at the end of it. Okay, I listened to the last time I listened to the podcast. I did it in the bath, right? And normally baths for me are super relaxing. There are times when I just take a bit of me time to maybe even drop a Lush bath bomb in there and just really unwind. Wow. And I swear you had me giggling so much, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to hold my composure coming on and talking to you this evening.
And unlike then, we're not in the same room, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We have to get, obviously, we have to say hello to everybody else out there. Hello, everybody. The reason that we do this is because it's 2020, and let's face it, the world just needs another podcast in this type of climate. Don't cough, don't sneeze, don't say hello to anybody, don't shake hands. I can't hug anymore. There's like a conference coming up.
Literally, I was practicing the new handshake before the team left for Gamma in Reno, and we were practicing the ankle handshake. Do you know the one where you kind of walk up to someone and you tap feet the size of your shoes together? That's the official C virus handshake.
See, what I do is I put my hand forward and then I lift it up to my nose and do the nah kind of thing. And that is good fun when you know the person, but it's not that great when you're trying to secure that business deal. It just doesn't work that kind of way. So, and the reason that we're doing this is because, as I say, there's not enough podcasts in the world to help everybody feel like the world isn't slipping into the 10th level of hell. And the other reason that we do this is because, disasters can happen at any time. And, the world has got a history of things happening.
So if you're in a bunker right now and you're warming yourself by the 3-bar heater and just turn it up a little bit, take a sensual moment and just enjoy this time together. Is that what you're saying?
Or what I was going to say, if you potentially had a Kickstarter that was based around 3 moments in time, but obviously so one of us read the brief. But we don't. Okay, I mean, let's get this out of the way because it's the painful bit. Lucky Duck Games, which we do like. We do like a lot. You obviously like them more than I do. But they've got a Kickstarter just now, the Chronicles of Crime, the Millennium series, which try and say that 3 times fast. It's doing very, very well, isn't it?
It's doing not too bad. Yeah.
Not doing bad. $500,000.
Yeah, it's going to make a few games for sure. It's one of those things, right? We're very happy with it, and the first couple of days were really just absolutely incredible. In fact, it was the strongest day one we've had for any campaign, and this is our 10th Kickstarter campaign. So at the time of recording, I think we're like just under 7,400 backers, and that's the interesting number for us, right? Because Chronicles of Crime is obviously an established brand at this point. People have had the game in their hands for a couple of years. They're familiar with it and what it's like. So this was us coming back to Kickstarter for the first time, saying, hey, here's something but here is it with not one twist, but 3 different twists. And I don't think even we were ready for just how well that was going to resonate. So raising like nearly $275,000 in day one was like, wow. Like, I mean, just like nothing that I personally or really anyone at the company was prepared for. So I genuinely mean this when I say we are ecstatic with how it's going, and we're still, we're not finishing until the 23rd of March. So we're still like 20, quick math. Yeah, we're only a third of the way through the campaign, right?
Yeah, so it's a long way to go. A long way. Yeah. In Kickstarter years anyway. Because I see a lot of campaigns doing like 2 weeks now.
It's really common. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like we'll have the big rush at the beginning and then we're going to have the big rush at the end. So we're going to cut out the bit in the middle. And it's like, I don't know if that's how it works.
Do you know what? Because we spoke about, we'll talk about that, and we can have a bit of serious conversation if we're like, because I love this stuff. This is like my bread and butter, right? And there's definitely more campaigns and more stretch goal formats and expansion formats and size and pledge levels and backer count. And there's loads of things that are supporting the 10-day campaign model, which you see quite a bit now, which is that kind of Tuesday to Friday. Because everyone loves launching on Tuesday, right? That's kind of still the day that everyone goes, it's hot Tuesday.
Yeah, my inbox practically gets flooded with 2 things. It gets, all these companies have just launched the game, and then I get the myriad of everybody that I follow in Kickstarter kind of go brrr, like backing all the games that have come out, and I'm just sitting there going, I don't know which one to pick. I have no idea. But but you see them all, and it's like kind of like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how it's almost fell into that. And you can almost see the guys that know kind of what they're doing and how they're fitting things together and how they're fitting things in, which is kind of pretty cool. You've, as we joked wholeheartedly at the beginning, you have not been with the company that long. So, but one of the things I said in the green room as you were sipping on your cocktail and enjoying a cigar.
Man, I can't believe you were able to find ricicles for me. I haven't found ricicles in years, and that was just like such a treat. And I only let you know that like 2 days ago that I demanded ricicles, and you were like, no problem. And I didn't think you'd get it, but you did. A lot of respect for you.
I 3D printed every single one from rice starch and a little bit of sugar. I'll just have
That's why they stay crunchy for so long.
That is why they're staying crunchy for so long, because there's little bits of plastic in them as well. Have you always been a marketing type guy? Has that always been your wheelhouse? Because I know, like, say for me, I am kind of a sales type person. So somebody could say to me, go and sell this, and I'll go and explain features and benefits and stuff like that. And then what I'll find is I find that I'm better sometimes. I'm pretty good at explaining features and benefits of something. So then I like explaining features and benefits, because then I don't have to get the disappointment of somebody going, no, I do not want your product. So have you always been a marketing type person, or did you start off have you always been that from day one, or did you do a kind of a little bit of the combination with the sales and marketing side of things?
It's a really good question. I mean, just speaking personally, so speaking like about my own kind of character, I guess, I am like a classic, I guess, maybe a kind of anxiety-driven introvert. I'm not great in a lot of social situations, and I'm not big on big crowds and these kind of things. And the one place where I found myself kind of truly comfortable and happy was at conventions, whether it was like demoing games or running and organizing tournaments or being a judge at competitive events for the likes of FFG and things like this. And in those environments, I kind of felt like I was around my own people. And I could escape from that kind of like, a lot of pressure and anxiety and kind of nerves, and become that kind of, hey, you've got to check out this thing. Look, it's amazing. This is why it's good for you. Let's learn it together. Wasn't that fantastic? You know, and I would say that naturally marketing is a word that I never really attached to myself. Being a marketer, the community and the social aspect of gaming and competitive gaming and organized play and all these kind of things was always what attracted me. And it just so happened that I'm very lucky that I'm kind of coming into the industry for sort of 3 years now at a point where the social aspect is such a key component of not just playing the games, but also with Kickstarter and with Facebook and social media. It's integral. It's woven in to a lot of the kind of ways we actually buy and purchase and get involved in games. So I don't feel like I'm a natural marketer so much as I'm just maybe quite comfortable chatting to people about games and getting them excited. And I truly believe that there's a game for everybody out there. You know, and now there's like 3,000, 4,000 games coming out a year. That's more true than ever, maybe. But I've always believed that. It's just finding the right game for you.
When I was speaking to people in a similar situation to yourself, they would say, well, I'm kind of introverted and I kind of get a bit of anxiety. And it's like, well, how can you do this? And it's like, well, because there's an aspect of control to it. When I'm demoing a game, I know that game kind of inside and out. So I'm kind of prepared for the various questions and the various type of scenarios. I'm not all of a sudden going to get left fielded. You know, if I'm demoing a game, or if I'm explaining kind of rules to a tournament, or if I'm organising something, then it's very, very much in my wheelhouse, which is why I can do it. Which the same person, if you then said, do you want to go and do fill in some DMing for half an hour on this campaign? It'd be like, no, because that is a particular type of worm that this duck just doesn't want to handle, basically, kind of going forward. Did you study kind of marketing at uni? Was that your kind of?
This is the point where it's like this reveals all and how he got a marketing job without any skills in marketing. Because
I want to know this.
Yeah, this is good because my degree was in multimedia computing design, which at the time, so I was 18, I'm 30. What age am I now? I'm 32 now. So this is 14 years ago. And multimedia and computing design essentially meant that you did a little bit of everything, but came out with a degree that was useful for very little. So you did some website design, you did some 3D animation, you did some video editing, you did a little bit of programming, but not enough to be a programmer. You did a little bit of CAD design, but not enough to be an engineer. You did a little bit of art, but not enough to be a creative designer. So a little bit of everything. And I came out of university and went, can't find a job. What will I do? I'll go and work for a bank. And I proceeded to work for a bank for 7 years.
7 years?
7 years.
Do you know the irony is if you'd actually robbed a bank, you would have been out in 5.
And I probably would have learnt more during that time, potentially. Like arts and crafts, might have picked up some skills, you never know. But, I look back in that time and I would be wrong to say I didn't come out, with skills. But I think after 5 years working at the bank, I sort of said, you know what, I'm doing all this stuff in my free time. I'm running events and I'm kind of involved in online community and I'm running a little YouTube channel and this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I could do the banking thing for the rest of my life. I can be a data analyst or a tactical response coordinator, which was one of my favorite job titles because it made me sound really like I jumped across a desk with a badge and a gun. Tactical response coordinator.
You're swinging through a window. swinging into the wind.
What I was actually doing is I was like, you've been 1 minute over your smoke break. It's more like what it was. Get back on the phone. No, that's I was that person.
Dialer manager, power dialer manager, that kind of thing.
Wow. And I got to the point that I was like, do I want to do this for the rest of my life, or do I want to make a change? And I went, do you know what? I'm gonna leave well-paid, secure future, big pension, all kind of banking goodness, and I took a minimum wage job working with the amazing company Beast of War, who are now called On Tabletop, and they gave me that first opportunity to let my excitement out in some kind of channeled manner. They were like, hey, you've got all this bundled up energy to tell people how amazing games are. Stand in front of this camera and just try and contain yourself. Like, and that's not even a joke. Like, the first time I was on camera properly, I struggled to sit down because I previously done a lot of my recording personally standing up. I'm very animated. So, like, literally, I didn't study marketing. I didn't, really learn it in my 20s. I got towards my late 20s and went, do you know what? Total career change, total new direction in life. And I've been flying by the seat of my pants ever since. I've been very fortunate to work with very talented people and get to talk about amazing games and just hope that no one realizes, oh man, this guy, what's he doing here?
But do you not think marketing, and I probably am completely disrespecting a whole group of people, but marketing can take a certain type of personality. It's kind of sometimes daring to do what some people would go, no, that's silly. But kind of taking that next further, some kind of like taking the occasional risk to see if something works, to see if something gains kind of interaction and kind of a attention as well. I think that's it does take somebody maybe a little bit with a natural kind of flair for being quite happy to be the idiot in the room, if you know what I mean. Not saying that you're the idiot in the room, because obviously I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how many people are in the room with you just now, but I'm the idiot in this room, and that's fine. But I think it does take a certain type of personality. I'm not sure. I know people who have studied marketing, and in terms of tactical stuff and presentation and being able to tell me statistics and the reason people buy and theories and stuff like that, they're absolutely amazing at it. But then sometimes it's the guy that is just a little bit off to the left, or the girl that's off to the right, that's coming out with that zinger of an idea that gets everybody pricking up their ears and taking kind of notice.
I think, there's definitely something to be said for having a real solid base in marketing grounding, being aware of what attracts people, being aware of how many impressions of something it takes before someone actually will click on your link, being able to critically assess, the effectiveness of advertising, whether it's, clicking or brand building, or whether it's podcasts or magazines, whatever it may be. There's certainly a level of skill that can kind of come from education and experience that I've been quite lucky, because I've been immersed in the past sort of 3 years with people who have years of industry knowledge, and I'll be able to soak that up, and they've been able to take, I guess, my kind of new age, wild kind of, what about this crazy thing? And like, okay, well, let's see how we can channel that and make that kind of work. So I'm getting a little bit of the best of both. So while I'm maybe doing quite well in what we would call sort of business to customer, where I'm focusing on exciting backers and pushing and generating, I'm getting an opportunity to really push new ideas and learn a lot when it comes to business and what works well for distribution, what works well for retailers, because, retail for the tabletop industry has been around for long enough now that there are certain tropes that you come to expect as a retailer, and there's certain standards that they want from a publisher, and it's not just about meeting those now. For me, it's about how can we exceed and excel, and how can we still do a launch kit for a game at something that's going to excite the store and bring people in and have them play it, but also not break our back, as a publisher, because that stuff's obviously a marketing budget and can be quite draining. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. There's a mix of base level knowledge, which is good, but also having that kind of edge and that gusto to go out and do something a bit crazy now and again is beneficial.
In terms of the actual tabletop side of things, are you quite involved in the hobby? Are you currently, because we cannot see each other, because we've had a discussion off the cast about why we shouldn't see each other, and it was a good decision to make, because I've got a bit puffy eyes.
And you're terribly distracting. I just, I couldn't have talked while looking at you, is the honest truth.
I do like to record topless. Anyway, but
Yes, I broke you. That's a success for me.
No, you haven't. I was kind of bringing it back in. But are you sitting in front of like a shelf of games? I mean, because this is what I notice is like when you get involved into and this is when again I'm going to annoy a lot of people. But when you're starting to get involved in the more corporate side, you know, where you've got people who they've been brought into to do marketing. Mm-hmm. Because they're very good at it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, they do play the occasional board game, but that's just because it's a hobby. It's not, you know, are you kind of like really involved in it? Is it your passion? Did you kind of walk in and went, look, I've played all your games. This is why you should give me a job. Or are you walking in and saying, look, I'm really good at marketing. This is why you should give me a job.
I mean, to go back a little further, like I've always been a gamer all my life before I even realized kind of, you know, quote unquote, that's what I was sort of thing. You know, from the early days of like Sega Mega Drive and SNES and chess with a computer. Oh my God, the computer's taking moves. Oh, it's amazing. Like with one of those like VTech boards where the computer tells you how to move stuff. Oh, I loved it. And I was surrounded by it, and I didn't have any siblings the same age as me, and my mum didn't like playing games with me as a kid because I would win a lot. And not that I'm hyper-competitive, she just didn't really gel with it. So she would buy me all these different kind of board games at the time, like Electronic Battleship, that essentially you can play on your own, which is really sad now saying that out loud, but essentially whatever way I could get my hands on board games and play with people, I did early on. And it died down a little bit during my teens. Computer gaming kind of took over, and esports and these kind of LAN events and stuff took over. And then once I came out of university and kind of hit my mid-20s, I was like, oh man, there's so much stuff out there to play. And I went into RPGing, I went into tabletop gameplay and board game and going to conventions, and it just ramped up. So for at least, I'd say 8 or 9 years now, I've been completely headfirst in love with the hobby in every sense of the imagination. And I'm a total fanboy, and I have no problem. Like Bruno Cathala walked by me at Cannes last year and I nearly fell over. Like I got that kind of like wibbly wobbly leg feeling. And that's something that I totally embrace, and I don't try and shy away from, because that's just who I am. But I don't think that was part of why I got to work with Lucky Duck. I think it was more that at the time, December last year, Mythic Games unfortunately closed their UK office. An unfortunate thing happened. It's about a third of their staff ended up unfortunately being made redundant. And when that happened, I just luckily got contacted by Vince, who's the CEO of Lucky Duck, saying, look, hey, I heard what happened. Look, let's have a conversation. And over the course of 4 hours of calls and chit chat, he's in Poland and I'm here in the UK. Yeah. We realized actually there's something really good here. And he was like, look, I want to offer you something. And it basically, one of those situations of not what you know, but who you know. And we really gelled and really connected. And I went to Poland and we had a lovely dinner together and a real chat and a real heart to heart. And it just felt super good. And I was like, yeah, this is a thing. Let's make this happen.
Was it? So you weren't in the situation where you're like, oh my goodness, I've just taught myself into a job and now I've kind of got to kind of deliver here. Mm-hmm. Or were you kind of fairly kind of like, well, I know, no, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I know what I'm doing, I've already got 15 different ideas on how I can help push the kind of the brand forward.
Mm-hmm. We talked a lot about what kind of the main goals were, what's coming for the company. And the funny thing was, it was a little mix of both. I came to our second phone call and I said, Vince, before we get into kind of the chat and whatsoever, I've got a bunch of questions for you. And he kind of giggled his way through the answers, because a bunch of the things I was asking him were things that he was already doing in the background that I wasn't aware of. Like, for example, like a really good one is like Lucky Duck Games up until now is sort of 3.5 years old. I hope I get that right. And initially they started as a company that was focusing on digital games being translated into tabletop. So you had Vikings Gone Wild, you had Fruit Ninja, you had Zombie Tsunami, you had the massive hit that was Kingdom Rush, Rift in Time, which was over $1 million on Kickstarter. These were all digital games that were transported and changed to be tabletop by Lucky Duck. But that's not the way it's been of late. Obviously they had Chronicles of Crime, they had Paranormal Detectives, and Jetpack Joyride was a digital game, but now we also have Chronicles of Crime, the Millennium series. So I said to him, I said, Vince, is this a conscious decision you're making to kind of redirect the company a little bit, try and inject some new creativity, and just, this is where I see the company going, what about you? And he's like, perfect. That's he's like what you've just said is literally what I was talking to the team about 2 weeks ago in terms of the future of the company. So it was one of these moments of like, just I'm where you are, you're where I am, this is going to work, let's go. And right place, right time.
It's not, because people say that, but then I'm like, yeah, 99%, because like even doing the show, it's like I have just, I've emailed somebody out the blue and they went, do you want to come on the show? And they went, yeah, you do it next week.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer. I mean, I know that kind of once you get at a certain position, you've got to deliver, but I also believe sometimes getting there, it's just like, well, what happened? Well, our Gavin, well, he knows, he knows Raj down the road, and they've been mates with Sunil, and that he knows Karen, who knows Sheena, who knows Tina, who knows Joy, and that's how I got the job, kind of thing. And then you're just like that. I hate you. In terms of them, because you're talking about the marketing side of things, you're talking about Kickstarter. Yep. Is Kickstarter still like the proverbial nailing jelly to a wall in terms of the marketing campaign? Because I say this a lot, and I probably because I'm forgetful, but it's very difficult nowadays for me to look at a campaign and say, yep, that's going to fund, or no, that's going to scrape by, because I think there's the external forcing surrounding a Kickstarter campaign, which is the marketing. Yeah. Now, did you see that kind of more and more as somebody who, that's your wheelhouse, that's the hat that you wear? Do you look beyond? Do you ever look at other people's campaigns and go, well, I'm not seeing as big a presence on Facebook, I'm not seeing a lot of activity on Twitter, I'm not seeing you do kind of YouTube videos or interviews with external people, I don't think you're going to do as well as you think you do. Do you keep an eye on other people to see what trends are there and stuff like that?
100%. Like I'm never off Kickstarter. I'm in so many Facebook groups, and Facebook in the tabletop industry especially is kind of like the LinkedIn of the board game industry world. I do a lot of my business work is done through Facebook, much that it pains me at times, but it's sort of the way it needs to be. And whether you look at influencers or key groups or giveaways or key websites, or whether it's video content or simply quote and text reviews and pictures, who you give your copies to, there's a lot of spinning kind of wheels when it comes to this, and it's very, very hard to get it right. Like very, very, very difficult. And I think it's very, very campaign specific. You need to think about your audience, what you're trying to raise, what you're trying to sell. Like at Essen October last year, I usually try and spend quite a bit of time in some of the smaller halls at Essen, visiting and talking with companies who are looking at Kickstarter to maybe bring their first game to life. And one of the questions I ask them, I say, well, what are your pledge levels? What do you expect your average basket to be? How many backers do you expect? And it's funny how many people just think of, our funding goal is $30,000. I'm like, okay, well, your funding goal, but actually how are you getting to your funding goal? Like which one of your pledge levels is going to be the most popular, and how many backers you need to make that happen, and where are those backers coming from? And those are the kind of questions that, like, surprisingly still some smaller Kickstarter companies don't seem to have answers for early. And I think it's very easy to kind of assess initially a little bit of how many backers you expect to get from each source, whether it's Facebook, social media, whether it's a certain content creator, whether it's your own kind of retail or convention demo days and this kind of thing. And you just need to be really critical with yourself and ask if it's possible. And to answer your question, I spend a lot of time looking at campaigns, and some fail that I really don't think should, and some succeed where I just go, I don't know how this is happening. Who's backing this? I don't know who's backing this, but it's succeeding, and it happens. And it's harder than ever. Like, it's harder than ever to be a new content creator on Kickstarter, because big companies have set such high standards that can sometimes create kind of false perceptions, about what it takes to make a Kickstarter successful. So I don't think there's any one answer.
Yeah, I'm starting to see, I think a lot of new creators kind of try and sign up with existing Kickstarter companies.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I've seen Alley Cat. I keep mentioning Alley Cat Games. That's because they're fantastic and lovely, but they do some great games. But the diversity of their catalogue isn't down to the design team, because they kind of have a design team, but they kind of don't have a design team. They generally sign in a lot of games and then they put them out there. And they've got games like their own brand, like their, Dice Hospital and Chocolate Factory and things like that have done really, really well. But they seem to be signing in more and more kind of designers who, if they went on Kickstarter themselves, because I know we joked about, the rising phoenix of fire of Tinderblocks and Kitten. And Kitten was designed internally by Alley Cat Games, and obviously Tinderblocks was kind of external. But I'm not convinced, as much as Tinderblocks. It's an amazing idea, and and all I've seen is people going, "This is brilliant," and it is. I don't know how well it would have done on Kickstarter by itself if it was just released as a standalone kind of unit. And I think it needed Alley Cat Games sending out messages to all the backers of Dice Hospital, to Chocolate Factory, just to make people aware that it was there. Is that, do you know if would that ever be an approach that Lucky Duck would ever take, that they would maybe open the doors and say, look, we have got an audience here for you. If we like your game, kind of come in and we would consider having a chat.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, there's 2 points here. I want to touch on one thing you said there that I thought was really, really relevant, which is, if Tinderblocks had been on its own on the page, and I'll bring it back to Lucky Duck and give you a real world example. We're running the Millennium series on Kickstarter right now, which is in essence 3 separate games at $30 for each game, or it's $79 if you pick up all 3. Now, if we had done that as just a single Kickstarter, one at a time, maybe sort of 4 or 5 months between them, so they kind of release with these gaps where you get enough time to play them and engage and get hungry for the next one, we would have been essentially launching $30 Kickstarters plus some add-ons, meaning that what is an average pledge now of about $70 on the campaign would be something more like a $27, $30 average pledge, which would drastically reduce obviously our overall funding. It might even reduce our overall backers, and it might have seemed like a weird prospect to have this kind of small game. And I think there are sweet spots that you need to aim for, depending on, of course, what type of game you have. Big, heavy 4X games versus miniature games versus, light games. And I think Tinderblocks, by going together with Alley Cat, was a great move, and something that helped make the overall package just sing, helped reach a larger audience. And I think it's something that every company should be looking at and saying, what is the thing that we are offering, and does it make sense, for someone to purchase this? What's the shipping to that person? Is the shipping going to end up being 2/3 of the price of the actual game? Because in that instance, a lot of people can get turned off. Even if the game's excellent, they can get turned off by that kind of thing. And you have to think about the bundle. For us at Lucky Duck, I think there's definitely potential for us to help support kind of smaller publishers or smaller designers and bring their stuff to Kickstarter. I mean, Jetpack Joyride was a game by a guy that now works with us full time, Michal, who designed a game over the course of like a 2-day weekend. It was like a competition to basically do the phrase is escaping me now, where you do a kind of jam, like a game design jam. His design was incredible, so we picked it up, took it to Kickstarter, and it went fantastically. And I think that's I'd give a shout out to Awaken Realms. They did something with Flick of Faith as well. It was a game they launched to Essen last year, which came from one of these kind of game jams. And I think there's definitely great rewards to be had for both designers and for publishers looking to smaller companies or smaller, 1-2 people outfits and saying, you've got something great here that if it goes out now, might fund, but might generally go unheard. But we can help you. Let's help it reach a larger audience, and hopefully we both benefit. So yeah, never say never.
Do you think, because I saw like even a year ago, 2 years ago, there was the plague that beset Kickstarter, and I'll call it a plague because of what it was, which was people setting kind of unrealistic funding goals.
Yeah.
To the point that Kickstarter actually brought in almost like an unwritten rule as part of its new conditions to say that you weren't meant to be setting an unrealistic funding goal, and it broke Kickstarter for a while. And I'm aware of games that came up and cancelled really quickly, like I think Wardens was one of them, and I've never seen that appear again. And there was a whole host of games that they felt pressurised to bring that down. Whereas on the other side, we're starting to see a bit of a backlash against that, where we're starting to see a lot higher kind of goals. And I think kind of shipping has kind of come into that, the real price and the real cost of shipping, and we're having to take into consider kind of tariffs and things like that, which, and that's going to have to kind of come back in. Do you have to make sure when you are designing the Kickstarter that you're providing or giving, or giving kind of solid reasons as to why you're giving your potential backer kind of value for money? That the reason it's worthwhile jumping in at, $80 or $90 is because of the package they're going to be getting is going to be super duper. Is that something you have to take into consideration, as well as just a general, we got to make sure we can afford to ship it to people, basically? Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, so to talk about the funding goal, first of all, I think there's definitely a perception of, if you don't fund within the first day or maybe even the second day at a push, you're going to struggle. It has this kind of bathtub look if you look at these charts and likes of KickTrack and BackerKit, if you're really into your Kickstarter tracking. Not BackerKit, sorry, BiggerKek is the one I'm using a lot recently. I really like it as a site. You see these kind of, day 1, day 2, and even sometimes day 3. These are your main days. And then right at the end of the campaign, you have your last 48 hours, and that's kind of it. Everything else is bubbling in the middle. So if you don't fund right there in the first 48 hours, there's a lot of pressure for that, which led to people setting those false funding goals because they knew that if they didn't fund it, it could just go downhill to start. And I don't blame people for that. I think, it's a decision that you make, and you hope that you don't have to cancel a campaign because of it. But it's come, and I think everyone has to realize, and it's something that I think people glaze over, is that the way board games are being presented on Kickstarter is not really the ideal situation for the crowdfunding platform as it was initially built. The stretch goal thing you see so often is something that we've kind of injected as an industry into Kickstarter and made such a big thing. But people now have these expectations, like funding quickly, like unlocking a lot of stretch goals, like getting real value for money, like having way more exclusives or things that they won't be able to get later, and having that thing that your friend doesn't have if they buy it at retail. And all these expectations, if you challenge them for whatever reason, whether it's shipping or how quickly you fund or whatever it may be, you're going to end up hitting walls that you need to be prepared to overcome. And so you need to work out, am I going to tick these kind of imaginary boxes? Not imaginary, they're real boxes, but they don't physically exist, but these real challenges. How am I going to deal with them with my campaign? I've got, with regards to stretch goals, I'm not going to mention my friends in the north. Come on, that'd be silly. But do you think that companies have a certain responsibility to make sure that they are setting their overall spend responsibly? Because I see big whale games, and what I mean by that is that occasionally, and on a regular basis, you will see games where the base game seems to be a reasonable $80, which to me isn't reasonable anymore, but anyway. But then once you total in kind of exclusive stretch goals and Kickstarter exclusives and Kickstarter exclusive add-ons, that people can't walk away with the ability to get something later unless they're parting with like $300 or $400. do you think there's a responsibility behind the company creating the campaign to actually think about a little bit of fiscal responsibility, that by creating a fear of missing out, that they have to be also taken into account, maybe, are the audience stretching themselves? Or is it a case to say, well, you're an adult, you're making your own decision?
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, yes, people have to be responsible for what they're spending money on, but we, as a publisher, need to be offering something that we deem as fair. And Kickstarter allows us, so stretch goals, first of all, realistically, what stretch goals are doing is allowing us to get a certain amount of backers. That's allowing us to reduce the cost of printing, because we're doing so many thousands of copies of the game, so we can squeeze more content in there.
Yeah.
With Chronicles of Crime, the Millennium series, it's quite interesting. We've added nearly 2 new scenarios, giving us like 14 scenarios across the 3 games at the current stage, the Kickstarter. And that content and component wise is not massive. We're talking about something like 6 kind of character cards, a couple of locations, an extra nice snazzy wooden meeple, and a few other bits and pieces that are going to make it all work together nicely and make it feel unique. But content-wise, component-wise, it's not a lot. Content-wise and man-hour-wise, however, man-hour that we spend on making a scenario for Chronicles of Crime is huge. The time we spend writing, putting it into the app, play testing it, trying all of the different threads and narratives and different ways you can explore, it's massive. So whenever someone says, hey, it's $20,000 to the next stretch goal and it's for a couple of cards, we have to say, well, actually, yes, you're getting a couple of cards, but you're actually also getting so much more in terms of actually richness of gameplay. And that's something we have to just be very open and honest about. And, people have to make their own, everyone's source of value, just as you said, $80 to you might be different than it was a few years ago. It's completely subjective. So all we can do is communicate really clearly, really openly and honestly to say, look, this is what you're getting. If it's right for you, great. And if not, it's coming to retail. And you know what? Even then, we've got nothing on the campaign that's Kickstarter exclusive. We have some stuff that we call Lucky Duck exclusive, which are things that will be basically given to you during the campaign for free, but you can still get them later. We might have them on our website or at a convention or something like that, so you can still get them. That kind of fear of missing out thing is really not something we want to use as a marketing tool and as an incentive. We want the value to be there and the gameplay to be there. And if you don't back it in the Kickstarter, you can pick it up later at retail. And if you want to get some of the things that were kind of exclusive, you can get it on our website or at a convention or come and see one of us, and we'll get it to you, because we don't want people to feel like, oh my God, I must spend beyond my current limit for this month or whatever, because if I miss it, it's then gone. It's also the advantage of running like a 23-day campaign that we can have a little bit more wiggle room.
So you get to kind of like say, well, it allows you to play around a little bit and see, because I guess the comments must be a source of really important kind of marketing information, and you can really test the sway of a recent kind of update. Yeah, I'm guessing it allows you to see almost instantly if people are going, yeah, this is brilliant, or they're going, oh, that was a little bit disappointing. I was expecting, or when are we unlocking this, please? So is it almost as important as looking at the kind of like the daily stats to see how many people have visited, how many people have liked the project for kind of like further on?
I mean, I said this, and this is funny, I said this to Vince before I joined Lucky Duck, and it was an important thing. I said, breakfast is the feedback of champions. Oh, sorry, feedback is the... Got that a bit wrong there. I said feedback is the breakfast of champions, because it means so much,
I'm
right?
not
Positive
editing
feedback.
that.
No, you're not. It has to stay in.
No way. I'm editing that. In fact,
I can't wait till I get a t-shirt that says breakfast is the...
You're going to get a t-shirt. It says breakfast is the feedback of champions.
I'm going through a tunnel, Richard. I don't know what's happening. I'm losing you.
That is God.
So yes, Kickstarter. I'm trying to bring it back. Trying to compose myself somehow. I'm trying really hard.
Trying to. Okay. Yeah. So it's important.
I got it. It's
good, right? Okay.
Yeah, like
I'm
a good
still
breakfast.
Not editing this out.
It's super important, right? So Kickstarter, no joke, right? So let's be serious for a second, right?
Okay.
No joke.
Serious face.
If you think about launching a normal retail product, right? You start your marketing to distributors like 3 months ahead of the time that you're kind of printing it.
Yeah.
They go out to stores. The stores look at your sales sheet. They decide whether they want to order it. Comes back to distribution. Distribution give it to you. You send it off for print, and that's it. Your interaction with your end customer is like next to nothing, right? Maybe you do something on Facebook. Maybe you do something promotion, and you start even promoting it 3 months ahead of the time you're sort of going to get it into stores. Not fantastic. With Kickstarter, it's the polar opposite. You're laying it all bare. Here is everything. See as much as we can show you. And in our case with the Millennium series, here's 10% of what the actual final product's going to be. Here's one scenario which you can kind of watch or hear people talking about, and here's snippets of what we're going to do. But there's actually 13 more scenarios to come. We're laying it all bare in front of you. Tell us what you think. Comment on the updates. Comment on the Kickstarter, and we'll listen and we'll get involved. It could not be more important, and backers will often see things and ask questions that you never even considered, because when you've got 7,000 people crowdsourcing and looking at your page, it's like, oh yeah, we've got a lot of eyes that have spotted something that we might not have seen, or even if it's just an opportunity, they give you ideas. That being said, you always have to stick true to what your company's and your game's vision is. If you were to change something over every single comment, you're going to end up going absolutely crazy. You have to say, yes, that bit of feedback was really useful, or you have to say, this person is saying, hey, I really don't like this thing you've just unlocked. I don't think it adds any value to the game. You have to be able to step back and say, okay, they haven't played it. They probably have only just read the page. They've maybe watched a video or two. You have to trust in your own experience to say, actually, I know why this is super useful for the game and why it's going to make your gameplay experience so much better, and just control yourself and be true to your vision, and then just kind of communicate that to the backers and hope they have faith in you. So yeah, the communication with the backers is big, but you just got to kind of, taper it a little bit.
After Kickstarter, after the event, you could say, how easy
when
is
sleep comes back into my life again? Yeah.
After Zeds, basically.
So true. Yeah.
After
right.
Zeds. There you go. How important is it to kind of like continually maintain the level of noise for a product? As in, I see, because right now there's a buzz. People are talking about Chronicles of Crime. I mean, I look down the list of, people that have done previews and stuff like that, We're not on there, but I'm assuming that was before you were employed. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have been at the top. Not bitter about it. I'm just going to get my...
I'm waiting for my hug at AirCon, and then we'll make it happen, man. I'm a hugger. That's what I need to seal the deal.
I'm going to have to... Yeah. The feed, with your breakfast is the feedback of Champions t-shirt.
Don't do it. I'm going to get really sad if I don't get it now. Don't build this up.
That is going to happen. But maintaining noise, getting noise after the campaign and maintaining it to when it ships, is that something that's equally as important as building it up for the campaign itself?
It's different. So the first thing is you have to think about your backers. So you have to keep them informed. You want to keep them excited. You want to ensure them that their pledge is going towards something that's going to be of value and they're going to enjoy. So you need to keep that communication up and keep them thoroughly enthused for what they're going to get. I don't think it's really realistic that you continually, for maybe say, for example, a year from the Kickstarter till delivery, that you keep, a third party who hasn't already backed engaged. However, there are certain opportunities that you can really take advantage of. So, for example, your pledge manager opening is obviously a good one, because you have a couple of weeks after the campaign, you open up your pledge manager, and there's an opportunity there for you maybe to have taken some time after the Kickstarter to have maybe brought a new add-on out that was really requested by backers that you didn't have time to do previously, or maybe you've got an opportunity to say, hey, look, the late pledge is here, so you can get in. If you didn't get on the Kickstarter, so maybe it was a new paycheck or something like that. And it's another opportunity to kind of say, look, this is where we finished up. So now, if you didn't back the Kickstarter because there were still stretch goals being unlocked and it was still a in progress thing, now you can come and see the kind of quote unquote final product and get an idea of what you're going to get for your money. So that's a great opportunity. Similarly, showing your first production samples or your first full video. And again, this is very project specific. There's different approaches to the type of game that you've got, but there's different stages where you can engage. But I don't think everybody should set an expectation that you have to do it. I think a great example is Frank West of City of Gamers.
Don't talk about Frank West.
What a guy.
We don't talk about Frank.
What a guy. We do. What a guy. I have a soft
Frank,
spot.
I think Frank's amazing. I'm just like that. Go and just make one mistake. Just prove
Frank's just
human.
like, I am 100 people's worth of manpower, but he does a game, one game a year, or one game every sort of 18 months, and he does it to perfection. He was on YouTube there on GTS Distribution's kind of retailer chat. You can see a video on him on YouTube, and he was basically like, hey, here are my games. Here's why they're awesome. Here's all the assets you need to sell them. Here's all the assets you need to promote them. Here's everything you need to buy my game and sell it to your customers and be super happy. And I was like, Frank, I want to buy your game right now. In fact, we did. We licensed it in France. I Love Cats. We actually licensed it in French. I just realized that I'm saying that. We actually did. He's a guy that knows his stuff, but he's a guy that doesn't... Yeah. He doesn't put pressure on himself to, run 4 projects a year.
Francois L'Ouest.
Oh, that's good. I like that, actually. Francois L'Ouest. Yeah.
Francois L'Ouest in l'île des chats. Oh, for the smell of it. Could you imagine how bad... Right, okay, realistically talking, right? You've got a boat full of cats.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
That have just had fish.
Yeah.
How bad is that going to smell?
Gangs of cats, right?
How bad is that boat? Yeah. It's a gangs of cats. It's
and
gangs of cats.
You've got the big massive ones at the size of like sofas that I can't pronounce, the Ossics or whatever you call them. Those huge cats. It's like
there's going to be cat farts going on. Let's face it. There's going to be and they're not going to be good. They're going to be fishy and tangy. I'm surprised anybody's going to be able to get off the island because there's going to be like it's an outlying mist.
As someone that lives in a house with 2 cats, it's not the farts and it's not the smell or the litter trays. It's 5:00 in the morning and you're now being woken by my breath because my mouth is just all round your nose and I'm just breathing in it because that's what I worked out will wake you instantly. Because pawing to the face or pouncing on you or kneading on you, that's not going to wake you straight away. I've learned that. So I'm just going to breathe right into your nostril and you're going to wake up instantly in panic. Right? So I'm with you on this 100%.
Retching. It's retching as well because they go meow and it's like what what do you want? You think I've got like dentist says you obviously got a cat. Why? Because the acid reflux from you retching so much is dissolving the molars in your back. I don't have a cat. I've got a rabbit. It's better than cats because if you died your rabbit wouldn't eat you. If you died and your cat was there, right, they're on you before the flesh has a chance to cool.
We've had that discussion, like, in the house for sure, because we have 2 cats, and Maro is kind of lazy and very laid back, but very food-driven, whereas Izzy's hyperactive and very, very much like, I am in your face, I'm up in your grill, and you need to pay attention to me. And we've debated to some extent which one would eat us first, and I think it's a coin flip really, but it's going to happen. We're in no doubt about that.
Speaking of cats and treats, because we were obviously saying Frank West was amazing, and Frank, you are amazing, and that's all there is to say about that. But in terms of one of the other weapons in your armoury is the dreaded sample copies, preview copies, review copies. Yep. Is it, do you have, because I'm guessing that you'll get the kind of, hello Al, I'm from Tragically Bored. and we are really like Sparky Duck games. We've played all of them. The Crinkle in Crimes, that's a good one. But because if we reverse back a bit, right? What you said that and I quote because I write this all down because I get sued a lot. But you said that one of the things about Facebook was that Facebook was like the LinkedIn for board games. You end up doing a kind of an awful lot of business. And I've seen, and everybody's gone to the kind of the previewers and reviewers page when some poor boy goes up and goes, I'd like a review of my game, please. And the comments are like, hello, we're from do you have to, as somebody who obviously has a marketing budget, because let's face it, these games cost money to send out and shipping and stuff like that. Do you have to do research into who is actually getting audience numbers? And do you also have to, also say, well, that person there, I know they're not huge, but they certainly seem to be making some good stuff. So do you have to kind of, again, from a value proposition thing, you could say, well, Man versus Meeple, well, you have some money, and they'll go make a video. Or you go like Meeple University, who, I'm becoming big fans of, before you play, or other people, Luke Hector at the Broken Meeple and stuff like that. But then you get kind of like new guy starts out. Do you kind of measure, as somebody that does the marketing, do you look at kind of reach and do you look at quality as well?
I'll level with you. I will. I'll be very, very honest. And this is going to be a long podcast to where we're going.
That's fine.
This is going to go for a while.
You're just going to have a seat. We could stop for a pee break. Wait. Everybody, stop for a pee break. And we're back in the room.
Did you say tea break or pee break?
Pee break.
Can I go for a tea break though?
I'm not. Just no. We're recording. Come on, this is live.
Oh, God dang it, man. Okay, so for the thing is, and this is such a question that I want to attack from 17 different angles because I have so many opinions on it. So, content creators. First of all, I will never, ever in my entire lifetime be able to consume all of the content that is created by a handful of content creators, let alone the dozens upon dozens that exist out there. There are so many. So I absolutely check out content creators' channels. I do look at their view count, but I look at what type of games they're covering. I look at what kind of target audience I think they're hitting. I look at their consistency. I look very closely at whether I think that big 2,000 view video they have was because they have a big audience, or was it just because their video got featured on a Kickstarter page, and actually instead of them driving audience to the page, it got driven the other way around from the Kickstarter page to them. And I try and try and gauge where that's coming from. I look at them as people and personalities and how they come across on camera. I look at the quality of their video, the quality of the audio, how much time they put in. I look very critically at, I gave you a press kit. Did you read the press kit? Did you get the details right? Or did you make up what you wanted to hear? And now you've just told, a few hundred people something that's not true, and I look at these things and it's I'm now 6 Kicks campaigns, 5, 6, a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, at least. And I have a lot of experience with working with different people. And I will always give smaller channels a shot if I can. And sometimes if it's a miniature-driven game, you may only have 1 or maybe 2 or maybe 3 prototypes that you actually have early because they're so hard to make, because you have to resin cast or 3D print. And you take those with you to conventions, and maybe you hand it over to somebody and they've got 3 days to do something with it before they then post it somewhere else, and that can be very time consuming. Or I get quite lucky in the case of Chronicles of Crime with the Millennium series. We created one good scenario on a developer app essentially, and we were able to print just the assets required for that one app and get it out to 50 content creators.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to hit, the important ones in my mind that are going to be recognizable. It allowed me to hit the people that are a little bit different and have great personalities. It allowed me to hit the people that were just coming up, and it allowed me to hit the people that maybe you haven't even heard of before, but were, someone I'd never spoken to, but I liked their stuff. And I look at all of this and sometimes have to make really quick decisions because it can soak up a lot of time if you're emailing 50 different people. And you do have to say no in some cases. In some cases, you can say yes, which is great. In some cases, it can be, I'll get it to you as soon as I can. And it kind of sometimes time just runs out. But content creators are an integral part of the tabletop community. whether they're just making something for their friends, whether they're posting blogs on BGG or they're doing a Facebook page or a podcast, whatever it may be. It's the personal side of our industry that I hope never gets lost. And I think at Lucky Duck, we really, really value that. And those relationships that kind of build after you've done 2, 3, 4 Kickstarters with someone, and then you kind of can support them more, whether it be with promo cards that have their faces on it, or you give them a year of sponsorship for their show or whatever, that comes through just kind of trying and testing and hoping something wonderful comes out of it. So I can't remember what the original question was. I have so many thoughts on it.
No, I mean, I think it's about playing to your strengths. I mean, we do kind of written previews, and I've done videos, and I haven't done more videos just because it's a bit of a time sink. So what I've done is I've started taking all the written content that we've done, and I'm actually recording it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I write how I talk. So for me to read off what I've written is very, very easy, and it allows me to actually put the accents of where I think I was writing it in the first place. And in fact, I've just actually recorded the original Chronicles of Crime review that I did, which will be going out shortly. Well, in the next when I press live, basically. And but that was because I was aware that the blog wasn't it's growing really, really well, and I'm really pleased with it. But I'm aware that our podcast audience are always going to probably be head and shoulders above our blog audience. So it's kind of like, and it also gives me an extra spoke in the wheel to say that, okay, yeah, if I do the blog, then it'll reach so many people, and it relies me to do a lot of work to reach so many people. If I do the podcast as well, then it's reaching X extra number of people, and also if I put it on because it automatically goes on to YouTube as well, it's reaching X number of people on top of that, and that gives me a kind of a greater offering. If I say to people, well, if you let me look at a game for you or write a critique on a game, then I can reach X number of people, and I think some people kind of like that. I want
to throw it back to you. I mean, how far ahead do you look whenever you're thinking about, this is where I'd like to be in 6 months in terms of numbers, or maybe in the next year, this is the kind of content I would like to be doing? Do you plan far out?
I think I've planned out to see if I enjoy it still.
Great. That's a fantastic first point.
Because I think that's the main thing. I see people who have been doing this for a long time, and I was having a chat actually the other week about this very, very topic, about how important are actually numbers, and for some people they're really, really important. As you say, it's a measurement and it's a metric, but also it's a case of, well, does it actually make difference to me as an individual?
Yeah,
making the content. And the reason that we're having a conversation just now, and we're hopefully having, a fun chat and a good time, is I generally forget about people listening.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, folks. I don't mean to, but I kind of forget on, that's why I try not to do show notes. I do show notes, but it's more like this is the mechanics of it, the actual organic flow of the conversation. I mean, when you rocked up tonight, you had no idea what we were going to be talking about. You knew that we were going to be mentioning Chronicles of Crime Millennium, and maybe in other podcasts you would have talked about gameplay and how you play it and the features and benefits and everything like that. But I'm like, well, here's somebody who's in the marketing role for a tabletop company, a successful tabletop company. Let's ask the questions that I would like if I got a tabletop person involved in marketing who was heading it up. What kind of questions would I ask, if you know what I mean? So for me, I'll keep on doing this as long as I enjoy it. As soon as I feel it's kind of like I have to step back, or I'm kind of struggling a bit, I'll probably stop, and I'll still do stuff. I'll do other content. I'll do videos, or I'll do, sketches or whatever. But, that's the main thing.
I love it so much because for all we can talk about funding and backers and marketing and plans, it does, like, if your goal is simply to get your game made, which is what, Kickstarter really at its heart is, it's produce this thing that would not have been produced without your support. And there's a game which I like to kind of harken back to a little bit, called Chai. It's a game by Dan and Connie Kazmaier. I'm going to get that name right, I hope. And it's a beautiful little game about drinking chai tea that's absolutely extraordinarily gorgeous. And it raised I don't know, something like $125,000 something like that dollars on Kickstarter, and it was just a wonderful little thing. And being involved in their campaign and watching it grow and watching their energy and seeing their enthusiasm and seeing how happy they were to be funded and all the extra things they wanted to add in and all the effort they had put in, it made it just absolutely an incredible experience to be part of that I'll never forget. And I revere that game and that campaign for that very reason. So yeah, think about what your goal is for your game or for your podcast or your show or your company, wherever it may be, and keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think chase it if you're chasing. I think I'm a hypocrite because I do look at the numbers, and like I got really excited the other week at the end of the week, because I was having like one of those Fridays. But then, for some reason, it made me check where we were in the rankings for like the Apple Podcast game section, and we'd hit up to number 16.
Oh wow!
I'm just like, whoa! And then it's like back again. But then you're just like, oh, that's kind of cool. But also at the same time, it's like, I kind of still like it. So
yeah,
that's the kind of the.
We live in a world of numbers, right? The amount of likes you get, the amount of hearts you get, the amount of retweets you get, the amount of backers, whatever it may be, and it's very difficult not to measure things on numbers. Like attendance at a convention, and is it bigger than last year? Because oh my goodness, if you don't have more people than last year, everything must be going wrong, and that's just not true. But there's a perception tied to it, and I think it's very difficult not to just measure yourself by either your previous podcast or your nearest competitor or whatever chart that you might be featuring on. And it's really important to be mindful and just remember, if it's making you happy, then you're winning. And like, I'm happy to be talking to you people may not believe this, and I hope it comes across in a good way, but we spoke for barely 10 minutes before like having our first ever conversation, which was recorded. and I'm super happy, and I feel like I've met someone who now I hope to engage with much more in the future, and that makes me super happy. So I have to just remember that and kind of mentally go, yes, success.
Well, there's one challenge left.
Oh wait, there was a challenge before now? Did I go for a tea break?
No, there's a challenge. Right, we are here obviously to talk about Chronicles of Crime. The Millennium. I have to make such a difficult name for your game.
Okay, let me back up. Now, hold on. I'll tell you what's difficult, right? There's 2 N's in the word millennium. I must have typed 1 N in that word 150 times in all the copy and reviews and everything. And I must have sent, I'd say, about 3 dozen emails saying, please change the name of your article or your video or your podcast so it has 2 N's in it. Not that anyone will notice, but I'm OCD about consistency. So yeah, I wish we just called it the Chronicles of Crime, the series. That would have been way easier.
The Falcon series.
Oh. And then, I don't know.
Right, you're a marketeer. No, you're a marketeer. 27 seconds. Tell us why we should look at the Chronicles of Crime, the Millennium series.
Solve crimes. Have a blast around your table with your friends, engage in something that's really story-driven, and do it in 1400, and do it in 1900, and do it in 2400, and just immerse yourself in a true experience. If you're into story, if you're into narrative, if you're into puzzles or escape rooms, it's the best tabletop experience you can have. With 1 to 4 players, it's just an absolute blast. It's everything, and I'm delighted to talk about it because it makes me super excited. Yeah, that's it. That's all you're getting. That's it. Just back it if you like it, man. And if you don't like it, it's cool. Hey, I tell you what, the people that are like, oh my God, it's got an app, I'm not even going to look at it, or it's got an app, hard no from me. It's like, okay. I mean, it's not for you, but you know what? You should give it a try, because it's genuinely, Chronicles of Crime offers an experience unlike anything else you can play on the tabletop. And that's enough justification to just try it once and see what you think of it. People that just say, oh, it's got this, no, it's a hard no from me. It's just like, just taste it, try it, nibble it,
just
give it a lick. Just see.
Says at the bottom, sent from Kickstarter app.
It's good. It's such an exciting, because I loved Chronicles of Crime before I joined Lucky Duck. My partner and I played through, I think, like 5 of the scenarios in the base game and absolutely adored it. And I love nothing more. There's nothing better than that Midsummer Murders moment of like, okay, we're at the end of the case, we've gathered all the evidence, and we know who did it, and we know why they did it, and then it says, and who gave the murderer the information? And you're like,
I don't know.
I don't know that. And it's like, it was the secretary's daughter's dog, and you're like, that's so obvious now you said it. Like, I should have known. Like, and it's just, I like, there's nothing better than just being like, how did I miss that key bit of information? And then going back and going, it was right in front of my face the whole time. I love that. Like, genuinely, it tickles me in a way that's just extraordinary. And that's what Chronicles of Crime offers. It's that kind of, it's real stories written by real authors. It's not just turn to page 24. Oh, you threw your axe and it missed. It's actually really like, I'm talking to this person and I'm engaging in a conversation with them, and I've got the knife and I throw the knife in front of their face and they say, I've never seen that before. And you go, what? What about you? Your fingerprints are all over this. It's like, yeah, I've never seen it before. What are you going to do about it? It's like, I need to do something to break this person. And sorry, that was more than 27 seconds. But
that was, I mean, that's, that was a fail. Big F minus.
I'll take it. That's all right.
It's fine. It's good. I'm glad you're taking that feedback, because as you remember, breakfast.
It is the breakfast. Yeah.
Breakfast is the feedback of champions.
That's it.
Remember.
Yeah. Yep.
You're never going to forget that.
That was you writing it down, was it? I could
That's the title. Write. That's the title of the show. That is the title of the show. But even before the Chronicles of Crime, I'm going to put the Chronicles of Crime bit in small print.
I was really looking forward to going to AirCon this weekend, but I think I'm getting a bit ill. I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend.
If people want to find out where you exist on the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs, where can we find yourselves and yourself on the internet webs?
Let's Not Lie, Board Game Geek, and Facebook, they're the main 2 places. We have the LuckyDuckGames.com website, which is currently being renovated. We're hoping we're putting a lot of work in actually to making that a much nicer place to navigate and get involved with. But you can get us on Twitter and on Instagram, of course. And yes, anyone is more than welcome to message me as Drummond on Facebook. is a great place, because I love engaging and chatting to people and being part of their creative processes. So if I can ever help, I'm always glad to do so when I can make time. Yeah.
Excellent.
Can I, before we finish, because I can feel us wrapping up, I want to share something with you.
Okay.
I found out today.
Yes.
And I'm really like, do you ever, when you hold something really dear to your heart and then someone just shatters it to your very core?
Yes.
You know Jaffa cakes?
Yes.
Are called Jaffa because they're named after the orange, the Jaffa oranges.
Yeah.
You might not have known that, but that's why. But anyway, and there's sometimes different limited edition Jaffa cakes, and there's different things that come out. I found out today that there are a certain type of limited edition Jaffa cake that just makes me really sad inside, and that's the pineapple Jaffa cake. Who in the right mind of marketing or taste buds thought that a pineapple Jaffa cake was something that was A, good, and B, allowed in the world?
You forgot C, that it's the best version of a Jaffa cake. I thought we were
going to make it through this podcast without falling out.
Could you imagine? You could imagine even better than that. That what you could do is you could take your pineapple Jaffa cakes.
Don't you say it.
You could turn them upside down.
Don't.
You could put them on a pizza.
Okay, that wasn't what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to take an orange Jaffa cake and a pineapple Jaffa cake and put them together and make some kind of weird.
It'd be like Kiora of old. Orange and pineapple Kiora.
Oh, you're showing your years there, Richard. But
that's just, just imagine the taste. It'd be fantastic.
No thanks. I'm out.
We might have to do a video on that. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, just go to the internet webs and search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us in all the different worn out places, faces, and I don't know, boat races, whatever. If you like what you've listened to, then tell somebody else, because we spread, not through touch though. And if you like us even more, then consider going to Apple Podcasts and dropping us a rating or a review. Backed by popular demand. It's the same rubbish joke, because apparently the new joke wasn't as good as the old joke. So if you are going to go to Apple Podcasts, and consider give us a rating and review. But as always, don't give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed. But don't give us 1 star because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average. And we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not being average is rather wonderful, rather fantastic, as Drummond. Thank you very, very much for coming on, sir.
Thank you so much.
There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Az?
No, we're not.
And the second thing... the second thing is to say goodbye. So this is goodbye from Az. Say goodbye, Az.
Goodbye, Az.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, unless you're playing Chronicles of Crime, because you then can do the time, because you've got 3 different times where you can do the time. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.